residential with the bigger businesses that we are trying to bring, even as a Chamber of Commerce member, knowing of the businesses that are coming in. We need this kind of amenities to bring people and residents and rooftops to our city in order to bring the bigger businesses. We always talk about the steakhouses and everything else. We know that it's rooftops that are preventing that from happening. That's what gets told by planning and zoning and when those things come up. These types of amenities are exactly what's going to bring rooftops. It's what's going to bring other businesses. It's what's going to be attractive of the southern end of Utah County. And Spanish Fork has done a terrific job. My hat's off to the council for the difficult choices they've made in the past with pressurized irrigation and other items like that. We've stayed ahead of the curve as a city. And this is one of those things where we can be behind the 8 ball and knock it in, or and it's up to the citizens to decide. There is no federal elected official saying this is what you are demanded to do. I fought for the Constitution. I believe fully in the Constitution, and as a veteran, I don't see the infringement on my constitutional rights. I see it that I have the opportunity to vote, and if I don't like the way that vote turns out, then I have the opportunity to sell that property and go to a property that does not need that taxation or has a lower taxation on it. And I think that's any citizen in the U.S.'s right, and that's what we fight for, is for that right, not to be stuck where we are placed by government officials. So that's my uneducated 2 cents, and I appreciate everything that you guys do.
Thanks, Brent. Anyone else like to come up? Seeing none, we'll move over to council comments. Councilman Gordon.
Really? Me? First?
You get to go first today.
First in 4 years.
I know, we like you.
Unbelievable. All I wanted to say was I just appreciate the chamber and all that they're doing for the farmers market. It's going great. I do publicly apologize for running out of stuff the first 3 weeks and leaving early. Some of the other vendors look at us like, where are you going? But it has been great and incredible, and it's just so fun to see all the families and the people that come down and support that farmers market. It's a great asset to our community. So, and the kids will be back in school. If they're not, the LA kids went back yesterday, and some of the other kids are going back tomorrow. So please drive safe around your communities and your streets, and watch out for the kids as they're starting to figure out crosswalks and things this week. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Right. Councilman Davis.
The only thing I have is we have started Fiesta Days again. And this year's committee, and it is Mike and Kim Olson. They'll be in charge of, they're in charge of Fiesta Days this year. John and Lena Mendenhall will be our past chairman. And our new vice chair for this year will be Todd and Carolyn Harrison. We're pretty excited about them. So that is our new committee for this year. We have already had our first meeting, and we'll have our next meeting next week, and we will continue on to make Fiesta Days what it is. And Cadu on your youth council, man, they're awesome. When I was doing it 8 years ago, we didn't have very many. We had to go to the different high schools and beg them to come. We got some great advisors and started to build it up. Brandon took it over and put it to another step and another tier, and now Mike has taken over, and look how many kids are coming. And I can't tell you, they're just not only Fiesta Days, but all the other activities we have in the city. They're there volunteering and helping and producing. And Mike, all I can tell you is this March at Utah State, you need to have them up there competing against these other youth council, because this is where they really learn and really have fun. And with all the points that they've got for all the service hours they have, they'll be the top group. So anyway, thank you. They're awesome.
All right. Councilman Mendenhall.
Yeah, quickly echo Brandon and Richard. The farmers market seems like it's going great. Came down Saturday and saw a few people and got some produce, and none of the blackberries or raspberries even made it from there to the truck. It's just empty bins of them. So, I mean, geez, thank you all you local growers that come out. participate in such a great activity. It's just fun for the kids and fun for everybody involved. So thanks to the chamber and thanks for everybody that comes out. And the Youth City Council, again, I've said it, belabored the point, but those kids are so great, and it comes from great stock. So kudos to the parents that teach your children at such a young age how important it is to be involved in the community, how important it is to volunteer in your community. And truly, some of my mentors that have taught me the law of the giver's gain. The more you give back to your community, the truly more gain you receive in your own life, one way or the other. So kudos to all you Youth City Council that help us out in so many different areas. And then one more thing before I invite the chamber up is just to piggyback on Brandon again. School's back in session, and I've had conversations with Kier in the past and Rod of how I've woke up in cold sweats before thinking I've had a nightmare that I'm a teacher and would have to go in front of kids at a daily job or something. I mean, could you imagine something worse than that? I mean, I would have to fake like I know what I'm talking about every single day of, 9 months out of the year. But
A lot of times you can just baffle them,
is that what it is? That's a secret? But no, thank you, all you all of our local educators that do so much for our kids. My young son is so excited to go back to school and learn from his teacher, and my little girl's jealous that she doesn't have one. So I'm just at that point in life where I'm so appreciative of all you teachers that give so much of your time and energy to help raise our children is what you end up doing. So thank you, Mayor. That's all I have, except to invite our president and director of the chamber and board member, if he wants to come up. Carrie's going to say sitting down.
He's just happy.
Past President Robard.
Yes.
Thank you. We just wanted to echo the farmers market as well. Brandon must have a standing appointment somewhere else every week at noon, so he's trying to get out of there.
His wife was putting the potatoes in the bag on.
Listen,
And we already have,
I'm management, is what I tell them. So,
I
I'm literally down at the farm making it happen.
I text him.
you need to load more food then.
Imagine me under the shade tree with my sombrero on.
Okay, that's not too hard to imagine.
As the work's all done.
Management, I
pick the fruit and they sell it.
went to buy corn, no corn.
Okay, I know. Mayor texted me the same thing.
August 21st, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that what the sign says?
And what happened to our bell? I didn't hear it Saturday.
Somebody's gotta let me in.
Yeah,
My
it
key
was-
doesn't work.
Nice job.
The door was open already.
It's all right. I still went, even not hearing the bell, so,
You and people from everywhere.
yes, I did.
We have 30 vendors right now, and we expect it to continue growing through the season, and just encourage all the residents to come down 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. through November 1st. And then we also wanted to announce the Play Unplugged year-end summer party that's going to be held on Saturday, September 12th from 9 to 1 at North Park. Lots of vendors, food, things for the kids to do, and there's going to be a lot of giveaways, cash prizes along with prizes donated by businesses. So it's going to be a really super fun day. We have different schools involved helping, volunteering their time, like face painting and Miss Spanish Fork there, and it's going to be an awesome event for the kids. So if parents are wondering when that is, mark your calendar.
Right.
And I just wanna say, since last seeing you, we've had 4 ribbon cuttings. We have a list of 12 businesses that have joined that we are waiting for them to choose dates for ribbon cuttings. But the thing that's incredible to me is among those 4, we've had ribbon cuttings from new businesses opening that face Highway 6 to new businesses opening that face Main Street. And that to me is an incredible sign. And I just want to say thank you for the involvement that I was able to have in Fiesta Days. I think this is the first summer that I've had on Spanish Fork Main Street that did not involve apricots or eggs. And we have been incredibly busy, and as a chamber, we want to say thank you to this community. And I just want to pass along that attending Salem Days, there was all kinds of incredible talk about the neighboring city, that had literally overnight opened their reservoir for a tradition that's incredibly important to that community. And just, I think Mayor Leifson coined it last time, and it's just a, you know, kind of the brother relationship or sister relationship. And I just, for one, want to say that I'm incredibly proud to live in this incredible republic that allows what's about to happen one way or another.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Clark. Thanks. That's it, Mayor.
All right. Councilman Scobe, the one-armed man.
Mayor, just a quick report. We had the airport board meeting last week. Some things that will be coming forward are proposals for the 2016 tie down and ground lease rates. They also discussed establishing a committee for standards for the hangars, looking at design, decor, paint schemes, things like that. And so the committee, once they get that started, will then bring forward recommendations really to continue to improve the appearance of the airport, have some uniformity, but also celebrate the historical nature of some of the T hangars that are out there. It was also discussed an aerobatic, excuse me, an aerobatic box where next to the runway they're looking at getting FAA approval to be able to do certain maneuvers in the aircraft off to the side of the runway, but still within the airspace there. The discussion took place in looking at that it would be a second priority if there are flights coming in and out, that they certainly have the airspace to come in and land, but that the window that the FAA would give for this area to practice would allow for other planes to come into the airport, to be able to do things in the planes, trains, and automobiles that we have every other year. And so it was very encouraging, something that sounds really fun to be able to see these pilots be able to do to strengthen their skills. And then they're just preparing for the apron resurfacing and asphalt that'll be going in and around a lot of the hangar space back behind the control room. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you. Councilman Dart.
Well, one of my assignments is to sit on the Senior Citizens Board, and they are now accepting membership for this coming year in Senior Center. They do a lot of great things down there, have wonderful dinners and a lot of activities that the seniors participate in. So if you fit into that category, 55 or older, come down and join the Senior Citizens. Also, I'd like to comment on the farmers market. There's a gal down there that sells great salsa. Look her up. That's all I have.
Well, you go. I think we've all participated in the farmers market. It's been awesome. It's a great asset to our community, and great food and fruit. So if you haven't been down there, get down there. It's great. Brandon and Mike talked a little bit about schools starting, and I was reminded of that today. I was traveling down 4th North. There was 2 cars in front of me, and all of a sudden a kid come right across 4th North on his skateboard, right in front of the car. Didn't even stop, and if that truck hadn't have stopped, he would have been splat all over. I've just cringed. So be aware. Kids are out there, sometimes don't think very much. You know, they think the roads are theirs. And so we need to be conscious of what's going on, look at the streets, watch, and make sure we keep our kids safe. I appreciate that. I want to tell the rec department thank you. This morning they held a breakfast for the school administrators. They've been doing this for decades. Can we say that? Decades? A long time. And it's just a neat thing that the rec department has been doing to start the educators off with a breakfast. And we had a lot of participating this morning, and we're grateful for that relationship that we have with the school district. Like to mention, I had a citizen come to me the other day, had an issue, had a little car wreck, he was in the shopping store, someone hit his car, a citizen saw it, the car person got out and left. They called the police came, and they couldn't get the license number off it from the video cameras. 2 days later, this policeman called that individual up, said, I found the car, talked to the person, they admitted that they hit the car, sorry. And I just wanted to say, going above and beyond, our police here, I mean, he could have just said, well, sorry, nothing we can do, but, you know, he went out on his own, found the individual, hunted down the car, talked to the individual, and so this person wanted me to have a shout out to our police department for what a great job they do, and that's the kind of policemen we have here in this city, and we've got the best. I just wanted to do a shout out to the police on that. And also, they talked about Salem being good neighbors and helping out Mayor Brailsford. Just wanted me to tell everyone thank you for opening up our reservoir for them so they could do that, continue on with that tradition they had. And also, I want to personally thank our city. Woodland Hills, as you know, had a mudslide up there. We sent up dump trucks and loaders to help out. The mayor there was very appreciative of our efforts there. So tell that department that we're grateful for being able to respond to our neighbors in need. And that's what it's all about. That's the community we live in here, and that's we're willing to help and get out and help people. So, okay, I think I'll wait. I've got one other issue, but I think I'll do that a little later on. All right, let's move on to Spanish Fork 101. TVs everywhere. That's Mr. John
Everywhere.
Bolcott.
John Internet Bolt.
That works better. Okay, so today's an easy day because I am not looking for more money. I don't want to raise rates. I don't want to do anything terrible at all. I just want to share with you and the viewers a new feature that we have at SFCN for our cable television. Doesn't cost any money even, so even better. We just recently signed up with, well, actually been working on it for a little while, with Watch TV Everywhere. This is a service where you can actually log in and authenticate if you're a customer on cable television of SFCN, and then you can have access to the programming that is provided by the individual programmers like A&E and CNBC and things like that. It allows on-demand and live programming that you can watch on other devices. So we'll talk more about that. We don't really have any control over the content. That is really decided by the programmers. They decide what will be live and what isn't. For instance, CNN will give you a live feed, but Nickelodeon is not. But you do have the capability of going back and watching programs, and that's where the on-demand comes into play, because you can go back and watch the on-demand of some of your favorite programs and watch those on different devices. You can watch them on PCs, laptops, Android devices, iPads, iPhones, anything like that that has the capability of being on the internet. And if you can get a app for that device, not all of the networks provide apps for all of the devices. And we don't, again, I don't have any control over that. I'm not writing these apps. They're actually written by the programmers. So the MSNBC people have to create an app for that channel if you want to watch it on an Android or a iPad. If you're watching on a PC, it's a lot easier because usually you just go to their website and it's just going to stream right there. And you're not going to have any problems. There is no additional fee for the TV Everywhere service. So we're not asking for more money from anybody. It just comes with it. You will only get the channels that have TV Everywhere capability for the tier that you have. So if you're purchasing Expanded Basic, you would get all of the channels would show up for Expanded Basic. If you have Basic, it's going to be obviously very limited channels because we don't get TV Anywhere from any of the off-air channels, and that's what mostly Basic is. And so obviously that's going to be pretty limited. And Super Digital, we have some additional channels here that aren't in the Expanded Basic. So again, those channels will show up based on the tier of service that you are purchasing from SFCN. We are working on getting new channels, and also the programmers are working on adding new channels. And so we're going as quickly as we can, trying to get new ones online. I think the Turners were supposed to be on today. I noticed that we just got an email yesterday that said, oh, there's been a delay and it's going to be the 25th before we see that. So you're going to see a bunch of the Turner stuff show up. That's going to be the next thing that will show up. This authentication process, what happens is you go to log into this, it actually authenticates against a file that we send them that gives them a list of all of our customers and the level of service that those customers have. And so then you can authenticate against that and then go in and get the channels for the TV everywhere that you're subscribing to on SFCN's cable television. So that's actually a program that I wrote that actually sends that off to them. How is it different from Netflix or Hulu? Well, it includes live TV. You don't really get that with Netflix and Hulu. A little bit, but not much. We also have full episodes that come just days after they've aired. And so because the programmers control this, they're a little more lenient about giving those programs out there. And so you're going to find that your favorite programs show up faster. Even if they didn't show it live, they show up faster on this list. So since it doesn't cost anything, you might as well just go ahead and subscribe and get set up so that you can get at that. It's pretty easy to set up. First, you have to register. To do that, you're just going to go in and select Spanish Fork Community Network as your TV provider. It's a drop down, and I'll show you in just a second how that looks. You're going to provide your account number. Your account number is actually on your bill. It sits right here. So on your city bill, this is where the account number is. And you want to give the account number without any period. So this would just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just like this. That would be the account number. And you're also going to need your last name. And I had a customer call me today who couldn't get onto this system. I don't know how they heard about it, but they were trying to get on. And I said, oh, we need to make sure we get all of the periods out of the account number. No, I've done that. Apparently his city bill has a typo in his last name. What are the odds of that, right? And he's like, oh, it's a common typo, but there is a typo in there, and he was typing it correctly. I think he was.
You tell him just to change his name?
I did. I said that would be the easiest at this point. But so you will need the correct spelling of your last name. That's not true. You will need the spelling that's on your bill of your last name. And the best thing to do is really just have your city bill handy. If you have it with you, then it's going to give you all the information you need to do the registering. You have to provide an email address and a password, and then there's a reset question. These are all pretty standard things you would see on any kind of a registration. So it isn't, really weird. They should have your account number. They should have your last name. You do this little code. This is just to make sure that you're not a bot. You're not just something that is out trying to hack into the system. And you'll provide this information is not for authentication. This is just the authentication part up here. The validation, subscriber validation. This is just for setting up your account. And then you click right there. Pew, 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 on register. And it will then send you an email to the email address that you provided that gives you the rest of the information and all of the data you need so that you can use TV everywhere. And once you get into it, once you're done with that, then you can go ahead and watch it. You want to be careful not to give your username and password out, keep it confidential, that kind of thing. If they find that you've been sharing it with all your neighbors, then it could result in the loss of your privileges. It is just for your account, but they let you have multiple accounts.
Multiple.
I think there's 4.
4?
Yeah, something like that. So this is what we currently have available, and like I say, these are just going to increase. The number of channels will just go up. So some of these would have live feeds, some would not. Some of them, like Nick we know, does not. But I was watching golf, and golf was a live feed.
Wow.
You could watch it live.
Here has a great question.
Yes.
These only correspond to the tier you're on. So if you have the
That's
basic
correct.
cable and you normally don't get any of these channels as it
That's
is,
correct.
you would not have access through the TV everywhere.
Yes, that's correct. Because it's free, but it's not really free. You're paying for it when you pay for the tier.
Right.
It just, they don't charge us any additional fee for that. So yes, and you would only get it for the tier that you are subscribing to. You would only get the channels. In fact, right now in basic you would get none, but there is one that is coming, so the basic will have all of one. It's just that again, my basic is very limited just because of the fact that it's basic and it's off-air, and the off-airs don't let us have fancy things like this. They just like to charge us huge sums of money, but they don't like to give us any of these niceties. So you go to www.watchtveverywhere.com, and that's where you can go through the registration process. That's all I think I had to say about that, but I did have one more thing I wanted to talk about that isn't on the agenda, and this is only because I think it's like super cool. We've done a lot of work since last year's football through basketball and baseball on Spanish Fork 17, and we are doing some really neat things that I want to talk to you about. Live, of course, we are going to do every Spanish Fork Dawn game, home and away, except the game that is going to be carried by K-Jazz. But there's no reason for us to do it because it'll be on Channel 14. Other than that, we are doing all of the games. So if you're a Dawn fan, you can tune to 17 or 417, and you can watch every game that they play this year in football. We're also going to light up Channel 16. We used to have it many, many years ago. Well, we're going to light it back up again. It's only going to be lit up during the Maple Mountain games. So during Maple Mountain games, we're doing 6 games in high definition on Channel 16. There isn't a 416. The Maple Mountain is just high definition on 16. It might feel weird, but remember, we're doing away with everything except high definition, and so we're just preparing for that. So you have to have high definition capability, or you have to have a converter box that will down convert if you want to watch the Maple Mountain games. But we are going to carry 6 of those live. We're going to do pre-game, halftime, and post-game programs. They may not be perfect to start, but we're pretty excited about that. And the capability won't be for all of the games because there's just a lot of things to get all your ducks in a row to really to pull that off. But watch for that. And we're just going to become ESPN, whether you like it or not. We're also going to be doing real-time stats, graphics, and player information during the game, during live production. See, I told you.
Mayor Langston lied about his stats.
Dang it. I'm sure glad this wasn't available when I was there.
This is.
Oh, he's still 6'5", isn't he? So you can see these are the kind of things that we're working on, and we will have, it'll just get better and better as the season goes along, but we will have player information, and we will not question the accuracy of that information. These are some of the new graphics that we have for this year, so you can get a chance to see some of that. But this is all new this year. You'll be able to see this will be updated, real time is what I'm trying to say, just not doing it very well. And all of that will be updated right here. We actually have a second computer, and we're paying for a guy to sit there, and literally that's what his job is, to give us the stats and the information to put that into the live programming. So it's going to be really nice. Again, it may not be perfect to begin with, but we'll get there.
It's great.
We also have a new wireless roving camera, so we can go down and shoot the coach. What do you think, coach? Whatever. So we can. We use this in. I think you've seen it at the parade and some of the interviews we've been able to do with that. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool tech. And of course we have what?
Just throw a drone up over the field.
And the drone. We had drone last year. We'll have more dronage, as we call it. Will happen again this year. We'll have dronage. And I don't know. I'm starting to back off of the drone shot behind the kickoff. I mean, the extra points and the field goals. Have you seen that? Brian Perry flies that thing, and he is fearless. And man, sometimes that ball just goes whizzing right by that drone. That would be fun if it came down, wouldn't it? No.
That's the goal. That's the goal, is to hit it.
So I'm backing off that a little bit. We went out and bought a 75-inch TV, and we are building a trailer that it'll have an electric lift that lifts it up to about 8.5 feet high. And we're going to put that over by the concessions at the Spanish Fork games and up to the Maple Mountain games, some of them, and any of the home games, not the away games, so that when you're in line for the concessions there in Spanish Fork, you're waiting to get that hot dog, you don't have to miss any of the game. You can just look to your left. There's a big screen TV that'll have a live broadcast of what's going on the field. So,
About TV anywhere.
Almost anywhere, but wait for it. We're also going to do some tailgate parties this year, so we'll do that. We're excited about the Spanish Fork Maple Mountain game. That'll be our big tailgate party. We won't do all the games, but we'll do a good share of the games. We'll try to get some tailgate partying out there and see if we can't start a tradition for something like that. So, of course, you can see this on live streaming on KSL. You can link from www.sfcn.org if you haven't looked at that recently. That has been improved, upgraded, and it is better thanks to KSL and Deseret Digital, who did a lot of that. And we went out and bought some additional equipment, and that has been improved. So, yeah, you can watch this anywhere. So, yes, would be the answer. This link will work on your tablets and on your phones and those kinds of things. You can also watch it on YouTube, again, on all of your other handheld devices with at the Spanish Fork 17. We hope to have both games running live because obviously we're going to be running 2 simultaneously, and we hope to have both of them running live on Spanish Fork 17. Haven't actually seen that work yet, so that's still vaporware in my head, but I believe it can be done. And of course, you can always go to video.sfcn.org and download afterwards if you had a son or grandchild playing, you want a copy of that game. You're going to get a good quality, high definition video that you can just download for free right off of that website. And that's all I have. Doesn't require any action on your part.
There you go. Kurt Gowdy would be proud of you.
Yes, I may be. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. All right, consent items. We appreciate John and all his efforts, what he does with SF-17.
Always something good coming up.
Okay, the first item we have is the airport apron expansion. This is a grant from the FAA. The grant was for $400-something thousand. The engineer's estimate for this project was about $330,000, but it came in at $277,000. $15,000 of which will be our city's portion of the project. So I'd like to recommend that you approve that. Any questions on the airport apron project? The next one is the UDOT utility license agreement. This agreement allows us to go and work in UDOT roads on our utilities when we need to. It's a blanket agreement. It's an agreement that all cities need to have with UDOT. We worked with them to actually make some changes to the agreement to conform with our insurance needs, and they were willing to do that. Any questions about that agreement? If not, because of that agreement, we did need to revise our general conditions for our construction project so that if a contractor is working in a UDOT road, they need to have insurance equivalent to what is required in that utility license agreement. So the next item is just for you to approve how we've reworded our general conditions for contracts. And then finally, the UDOT betterment agreement, UDOT intends to widen Main Street right at 10th North, add another lane, which will be a right turn only lane. This will allow 2 lanes and I think I put a PDF in the, I can just explain it from the other. So what this will allow is for 2 lanes to go straight through. So this lane and this lane will be straight through lanes, and they'll go and get on the freeway. A lot of the backup that occurs at this intersection is because only 1 lane goes straight through and gets on the freeway. Then they will add another lane here that will be a right turn onto 10th North. So we're really excited about this project. It was to be done this year, but because of some confusion with our Main Street architectural study, it is actually it was put off till later this year. And then when we went to bid it, the cost for construction projects were so high UDOT wouldn't bid it, and they said they're gonna bid it in January. So it'll be done early next year. But what will happen is once that is built, you'll have new curb and gutter here. And traditionally, the city, UDOT requires the city to be responsible for everything behind the curb and gutter. So this betterment is for us to participate in the project and add sidewalk in, on Main Street along the east side, here where it doesn't exist currently, and the cost of that is about $31,000. Any questions about
How
that?
far does that go down there, Chris? Where's the sidewalk at now? Is it,
So
or
if
is
you
there no
zoom
sidewalk?
out a little bit, Seth, you can see there's no sidewalk in that block right here, but there is sidewalk here. And so we'll have a handicap ramp here, sidewalk all the way to where this, a new handicap ramp will actually be built here when we're done, so.
Great, thank you.
Mayor's been getting that question along with the steakhouse for.
Yeah, where's
I
my
know.
sidewalks?
Where's my turn lane there?
Great.
Last consent item is a ratification of a real estate purchase agreement with George and Phyllis Bradford, Phyllis being George's daughter, on the property 1100 South State. They have contacted the city several times over the last few years to see if the city would be interested in purchasing their property. At this time, the council said, yes, let's go for it. So this was approved in a closed session. They have signed the agreement, so we're seeking to ratify it. The cost is $200,000. The closing will be September 3rd.
Right. All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, ordinance Z05-15, changing the zoning designation and amending the official zoning map of. Before we do this, I would like to make a request from staff. I would like you to look at our shopping, our SC shopping center ordinance. And I noticed in there we have offices. I would really like to see maybe you guys entertain to look into that. My concern is that we go into an area that we designed it, designated it as a shopping retail space, and then the developer comes in and says, oh, I can build office spaces all through there. And all of a sudden, we have prime retail space, and they go in and build office space. So I would ask the staff maybe to look into that for us and maybe come back to the council with some recommendations on that, if you wouldn't mind. You okay with that? Are you guys okay with that? Okay.
Will do. Thank you. The proposal's pretty straightforward. This property right here, which is about 4 acres in size altogether, actually it's better to point it out like that. The property itself is right here. Used to be a truss plant, operated there for quite a while. As we've talked with the group that's developing the adjoining properties to the east for months and months and months, they've included this area here in different concept plans that they've shown to the city. And frankly, I think that it was just an oversight, and maybe they can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was just an oversight the last time we changed zoning in this area, that this property wasn't included. So this property right now is zoned Industrial 1. They would like the zoning change to Commercial 2. That's what they've requested. Spanish Fork City has what I think is a pretty healthy addiction for retail development and commercial development. So generally, we look on any zone changes to commercial pretty favorably, and that's what's happened here with the Development Review Committee and the Planning Commission. They've both recommended that the proposed change be approved. We don't really see a downside to changing the zoning to facilitate retail development. Maybe this goes a little bit in line with what the mayor just mentioned earlier. But along the lines of the specifics of the zone change, we have a Commercial 2 zone
which is kind of a catch-all commercial zoning district that we have that's intended to facilitate or allow lots of different types of commerce, everything from personal service businesses to big office parks to big box retail, restaurants. Pretty much anything that you can imagine, I think, kind of fits within the parameters of what's allowed in that zone if it's commerce-based. And that's what the applicants have requested the zoning be changed to for this property, Commercial 2, which is consistent with properties that we have in the area. But we also have another zoning district, which is called Shopping Center, which, like Commercial 2, in that zoning district, it's pretty permissive. It allows for a very broad range of different retail uses, including things that would cater to automotive activities like tire centers, lube centers, different things like that. A pretty broad range, but I think originally when that district was written, it was intended not to allow so much of the kind of business park types of uses, the bigger office buildings and those types of things. And Mayor and I actually talked about that a little bit earlier today. So we had a meeting with the applicant. Just the idea of maybe making the shopping center zone now more clearly a zoning district that facilitates retail development, but not so much big office development. And we just got our marching orders to work on that, so we'll go to work on that. And with that, we've talked today about the prospect potentially of, rather than changing the zoning to Commercial 2, here changing it to shopping center, just to make sure that we're preserving that site for retail uses, with the idea that, you know, maybe we'd make an adjustment to the language in the shopping center zone. And frankly, so I'll just speak for myself. Again, the Development Review Committee and the Planning Commission, they've recommended that the zoning be changed to Commercial 2. I think largely because we didn't talk about any other options when the proposal went to them. But frankly, I see some value now in changing the zoning of this property to shopping center rather than Commercial 2. My understanding that that would meet the expectations of the applicant and their needs, which I do believe are perfectly in line with what we'd like to see as the city. Just some type of retail-oriented business that's going to capitalize on the kind of visibility that you have on the US 6 route there. Good access from Kirby Lane. Some characteristics that we think make the site great for any one of a number of different types of retail uses. So that's my recommendation, would be that you consider at least the shopping center zone, but certainly staff and the Planning Commission, they're comfortable with changing the zoning from light industrial to some type of zoning district to more clearly facilitate retail development.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are now in a public hearing. Anyone that would like to come up and talk about this issue, you're sure welcome to come up. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Dart, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any discussion on this from the council?
Is this, if looking at the shopping center designation versus Commercial 2, is that something, I mean, it would take some time to staff it and then come back with recommendations. Is there a timeline that we're up against, a short suspense, or do we have time to be able to look at the shopping center option, zoning option, and still be able to meet all the intents and needs for this area?
It's a great question, and the applicant can answer part of that certainly better than I can, but just relative to our timing, if you're to act on the zone change tonight, for example, let's say change it to shopping center, then the applicant would be able to make application tomorrow for any uses that are allowed in that zoning district.
You could do it whether it's Commercial 2 or shopping center?
They could, with whatever changes you make tonight. It's our intent to follow through on the direction you just gave pretty quickly, so probably within the next 30 days. We'd have some type of a text amendment back for you to consider to see if you wanted to make any adjustments or not. So that, I don't expect that's going to take a lot of time. We'd have to advertise for public hearings to be ready to consider a change to the text with both the planning commission and you. So that would govern the time, but I would guess that'll happen within the next month.
Just by way of geography, Dave, does
Yeah.
this back up against the hospital's property they own now, or is that a little bit further away?
That's a great question. No, in fact, probably well over a quarter of a mile away from land that IHC owns to the north. So the closest neighbor today is the hotel here, or Sapa, just to the north.
We had to notify them of,
We did. They received a notice. All property owners within 300 feet received a letter in the mail about the proposed change. In fact, somebody that is employed at SAPA came to the Planning Commission meeting and offered some comments. We would expect the development in closest proximity to this property to be, you know, something like a restaurant maybe. Or, I mean, we've looked also at the prospect of maybe having like some type of a automotive use, meaning lube center, something like that there. Trying to think of the best way to be candid and accurate. We've talked about the prospect, should, for example, Cinemark build a theater here in Spanish Fork, that might happen in this area right here. So you might see some uses that would kind of cater to the same clientele. Again, restaurants and that type of thing out here. But that's still certainly somewhat up in the air.
I think one of the reasons why I've asked them to look at that, and why I think we ought to make it an SC zone, shopping center zone, is because we have all this area out here, it's retail space, and I just would hate to see an office complex be built in our prime retail area, because we partnered with the developers, and in our partnership, it was all going to be retail, you know, and so I think that's the way we want to see it go, and I think.
So Mayor, how come they came in with this a C2?
Because they didn't even talk about this option, they didn't know about this option, yeah. So, and talking earlier today with the developer, we asked them if they had a problem with it being shopping center, and they said no. And so, unless that's changed, I don't know. Yeah, so they're fine with that. I just don't want to see us, with the hospital getting closer to be built, I can see the temptation to, okay, let's build a whole bunch of office, medical center, office buildings, and I would hate to see that taken away from our prime retail designation, and I think that's the reason what we all agreed to and we signed on with these guys a long time ago, so.
So do we need to continue this?
I think we can make, because.
Make a decision with that.
Because with me making that, asking staff to do that, that protects us.
What about your planning commission?
What about them?
Well, talk to them and, no problem?
I mean, everything that they're doing here is what they could do in a commercial 2 zone.
Okay.
And the Planning Commission, they'll have an opportunity to weigh in on the text amendment that we just talked about too. So it'd go to them, and they'd make a recommendation before that came back to you. So it'd go through that process.
You know, if they want to change this, I think they might have something that they would like to do here, and if they're okay with an SC, if they had an issue, then I would definitely want to table it and readdress it, but I don't see it being an issue, but that's.
Any problems, Rod, with that?
No, I'm good with that.
Anybody else?
I make a motion, we approve ordinance number Z05-15, changing the zoning designation and amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork City for the Canyon Creek zone change. Canyon Creek zone change to the property located approximately 500 East Kirby Lane, changing the zone from I-1 to Commercial 2.
No. To SC.
See.
That's the late breaking change there, Councilman. Sorry.
Oh, I-1 to SC, yeah, sorry.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall and a second by Councilman Davis This will be a roll call vote, or does it need to be a roll call? Yes, it is. Councilman Dart.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
That passed. Thank you. New business. Resolution 15-14 approving an interlocal agreement with Utah County and other Utah County cities to provide mass communication software.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of years ago, we entered into a contract with a company named Parlant to provide mass communication capabilities to the city, something we actually use regularly, not necessarily just for emergency uses, but we use this tool to communicate with employees as well as residents in a number of different situations. Back a couple of years ago, when we entered into the agreement with Parlant, we tried to get a kind of a coalition of Utah County cities to go together so that dispatch center would have only one tool that they would need to use in the event of having an emergency. Our efforts proved pioneering, but not necessarily successful, or that's not true. They were pioneering, but there was a better option that finally surfaced. It was a few years later, but this option for using the system called Everbridge saves significant money, actually. It just about reduced our contract by half. Took our total bill from about $15,000 down to $8,000, which is a pretty big deal, and we felt like a great win for Spanish Fork as well as all of the other Utah County cities. The tool functions just like everything we've ever used. It calls people really quickly. It can send texts. It can send emails, and we've developed quite a use for this type of a tool in the city. Not just for emergencies, because frankly we don't have a lot of emergencies, and that's something I think we're grateful for. But we know that at some point in time we're going to have some kind of an emergency where we do need to communicate. And the fact that we use this system mostly, generally on a daily basis, our employees will know how to use it. We can draw maps over isolated areas and say call or text residents that live in this area because we're closing the street for construction, striping, crack sealing or overlays, or we can highlight the whole area of garbage on a Tuesday and say the truck broke down, sorry, they're going to come on Wednesday, whatever the notification might be. And it also has the ability to call outside of our boundaries and connect with Mapleton because it's now connected into a greater countywide system. So we have before you a resolution to join with the county on this. The county pays the bill, and then they apportion out based on population, each of the cities' percentage of it. And as I said, ours is just around, but slightly over 8,000, where our previous contract with our previous provider was about 15,000. So it's a great tool. We have started some training on it to get a feel for how it will work, and pending your approval, we'll move forward on it. Any questions on this or how we use it?
Any other question, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. We approve resolution number 15-14, approving an interlocal agreement with Utah County and other Utah County cities to provide mass communication software.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Aye.
Councilman Dart.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
That passes. Okay, resolution 1515 concerning for adoption a resolution providing for a special bond election be held on November 3rd, 2015. No, I wasn't going to go read the whole thing. I think we pretty well know what that is.
Okay, tonight is a resolution to be adopted to put the Life Center on the ballot. And I want to briefly talk about a little bit what the resolution instructs the city to do and kind of briefly introduce this. It's been introduced several times, but it may be new to somebody listening at home or on a rebroadcast here. So I'm going to quickly go through 8 quick slides on this. And I have Jonathan Ward from Zion Public Finance. They are the financial advisor that will help us walk through, if the bond does pass, that they'll walk us through and issue the bonds. We have attorneys in Salt Lake. Ballard Spar has helped draft this resolution that you have. And so the city is serious about the resolution. We'll make sure that we've dotted all our I's, for this process as we go through it. So tonight's kind of official process of it. So it's called a GO bond election. It's only done on the election on a general election. And it could be this year or another year, but it has to be in the November election is when it's at. This is the verbiage of the resolution. You're joking about going to read through the agenda item and what it is. And it's a lot of letters and a couple numbers and stuff like that. I want to give you the layman's term explanation of what that all says right there. It mainly says that it authorizes me as the election officer to start the process to create the ballot that would be on the November election ballot. The amount that is going to be asked for is $39,250,000. The term is 25 years. 20 years, sorry, 20 years. And the asset that the money is going to be used for we're calling it a life center, which would be a new public library, a senior center, and a recreation aquatic center. So that's the nuts and bolts of what's there. Now, the instructions that the resolution does, it tells the public that this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a public hearing set for September 15th. We're going to publish the notice 3 times in the newspaper. We're going to give notice at the Utah Legal Notice website, the Utah Public Meeting website. We're going to create a information pamphlet so we can send that to all of the households who have registered voters. And so we're going to have to refine the list of who we send it to make sure that every household that has a registered voter will get one of these pamphlets inside of it. Now, it won't be a waste of money if there are 3 or 4 registered voters in your house. You're just going to receive 1 pamphlet per your household. So it's not going to be 4 showing up at one house type thing. And that it will be the registered voters that will be deciding this issue on a ballot election. This is a little summary of what the property tax impact is on a household. The average household in Spanish Fork, the market value assessed by the county assessor's office is $174,000. We're rounding that by statute to $202,000. So that's the average home. So there's homes more than that and homes less than that. And the impact that we're going to advertise through this bond election is what's that impact has on that average home. And so these pinkish numbers here, as far as this is what the tax impact is on if there is no bond election that passes. And you can see that there's taxing entities that a homeowner would pay taxes to on their home as far as the property value. Spanish Fork City is just one of those that add up to make the total of what your property tax bill. So on this average home, the property tax bill for a year would be $1,325, but the portion that would come to Spanish Fork would be $121. So it's a small portion of the big pie. If this election passes, the impact would be to change our rate from 10 mills to 29 mills, or to have a dollar increase from 121 to 323. In the total tax bill would increase by 15%. Your total bill would go from 13 to 15, while the city's portion that we have to advertise would go from 121 to 321, which is 166%. This is the information that we're going to be giving the public as far as in the pamphlet, and that they're going to have to make the decision. What that boils down to is to get $39 million, we need an annual payment of $2.8 million to pay the bond payment off. That household then comes down to an increase of property tax of $16.81 per month is the impact on that average house. The business impact is going to be $30.56 per month. Okay, so what will you get? What will the community get in exchange for the $16.81 per month? They'll get a life center, which is a combination of having a new public library, a new senior center, and a new recreation aquatics center. When is it? It's going to be November 3rd, And actually, I should say, where will it be built? The city council is deciding that portion right now, yet to be identified. There are some sites that has been talked about in public meetings, but the specific location will be announced shortly. Okay, so the registered voters get to vote. And so how do I become a registered voter? You at home might be thinking, am I registered or am I not? You can go to the state's website to look to see if you're registered. If you've moved recently, you probably need to get registered, even if you've moved across town, so you can get registered in your right place. This is some information that tells you about where you get registered, so there is still time to be registered. There wasn't a primary election this year in Spanish Fork, so our only election that we're going to have was going to be the general. That's in November. And so if you want to vote early in the early voting process, you'll need to get registered by October 5th. And that's the same thing on these. If you want to mail your registration in, if it's a mail-in application you're going to do, you need to do it by October 5th. So that gives you a little over a month. If you want to register by walking into the county's office, then you have until October 26th to do that. Or if you want to do it online, 6 days prior, the 27th. So it's kind of a floating date depending upon your method of how you're going to get registered, the deadlines for that. But you're going to fill out the application, go online, fill out the application, and then mail that in. Remember, October 5th is that deadline if you want to be able to vote by the mail-in part. Again, the election date is November 3rd. And with that, I'll see if Jonathan wants to make any comment about the resolution or any part that I might have missed as far as somebody from our financial advisor.
I think Kent's done a really thorough job with the explanation of the resolution, so I won't add anything regarding that presentation, but let me add that this is required under the Constitution of the state of Utah. If you're going to sell municipal bonds, general obligation bonds backed by property taxes, it must be put on the ballot so that registered voters can make that decision. So it's a requirement that we have here in the state of Utah for these types of bonds. We're happy to address any questions you have regarding the resolution or the timing, the mechanisms, and what it might proceed over the next couple of months if you have those.
Timing. This is a good time to be going after bonds.
Still is a good time to borrow. Yeah, we're still in the lowest 5% of interest rates over the last 25 years, which means there's a high probability they will be going up at some point. In fact, September 17th may be the day that the Federal Open Market Committee starts to ratchet up short-term interest rates, which has a cumulative effect on all the markets, and you might see those go up. Although there's speculation that if not September 17th, maybe their meeting in December would trigger that rate increase. I think it is expected. I noticed here on Kent's calculations that the interest rate assumed for a 20-year general obligation bond was a 3 3/4%, which is conservative for what we're seeing right now. We'd be closer to 3% in our markets today for 20-year financing for these types of bonds. So if they do start ratcheting up interest rates, there's cushion still in that 3 3/4% rate that Kent's used, which I think is wise, because I do expect rates will go up at some point in the very near future.
I have one question while you're up here. If the project were to go forward and you had construction that obviously takes a long time, are you able to just do a portion of the bond, if it were to pass, for, say, 2016 work, and then we're not paying, or does that all trigger at the same time? Does that make sense, my question?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the answer is you have a lot of flexibility on when those bonds are issued. You're authorized under the election question to sell $39,250,000 of bonds. You could do $2 million every month if you wanted to, or you could do half of it one year and the other half the next year. The question really is, from the legal standpoint, from the IRS standpoint, can you spend all of the money you borrow within 3 years? So you have to do that. If it's going to take longer than 3 years, then you would have to split up the authorization to various parts. If you're looking at tax impact and you think that it would be wise to split the issue and do part today and part next year or 6 months later, then you are at liberty to do so. The question would just be, in a rising interest rate environment, will postponing do you any good? Meaning, do you sell part of it at 3% and part of it at 4%, and you could have sold it all at 3%? You just never know where interest rates will be, so the city would at that point bear interest rate risk by separating it into separate tranches or phases. Yeah, but, yeah, great question. You have a lot of flexibility there.
You have any discussion on what Spanish Fork's specific bond rating is, how we're rated as a city, and our historical way of?
The city's bond rating depends on the types of bonds issued. The sales tax revenue bonds, for instance, are rated AA minus. AAA is the best. AA category is the next best. So AA minus is pretty good on the sales tax. We actually were hoping for a straight AA or one notch higher, and I think your general obligation rating would probably fit in that straight AA category. City is well run and has a good financial track record. I think that would prove out in the bond rating process.
Thank you.
Any other comments, discussions, statements?
Well, I wanted to say that I wanted to make sure that everybody knows, that everybody that's up here, how much they really love this town and this city. Kier had surgery yesterday and's here. Richard's family's up on vacation and he made a trip down just to be here. So we've talked a lot about this and it's been very important. And what I've loved the most is talking to people that, whether for or against it, said that this has got them involved in the community. And if anything, I think that's a wonderful thing. That a lot of people are getting out and voicing their opinion for or against it. When I first got involved in city council, I realized that I was spending a lot of time probably complaining about federal government myself, and I thought, Obama this, Obama that, and other federal government things that I would complain a lot about. And I thought, if I spend as much time serving and helping my community, this is really where a lot of the action happens. A lot of these decisions that are made in this very room have a lot bigger impact on me and my family than, say, some of the larger scale ones that I don't have as much ability to do much about. So I've watched the thousands of hours that people have put into this, for and against. The people on the committee, the community committee, I want to thank them for their time. They have put in just thousands of hours. A neighbor, mother of mine I spoke with said that she felt bad. She had to leave one of the meetings after 3 hours. And I thought, man, that's a long meeting. She had to get home and get her kids in bed. And I understand that, and I sympathize, and I just really appreciate both sides. When I was first elected into this position, I knew that there were going to be situations like this, where I vote for a percentage of the people, and sometimes my percentage represents what I believe is the part of the people that hopefully works out for them, and the other percentage, they might not be as happy about it. So as I've weighed this one, it's been very difficult for me. And I've thought, what is the best way for me to do this and go about this? And I've thought that if I give people the chance to hear their voice and to get out and vote, that they'll be able to do that in November. Tonight we had Tyler and Emily speak against, and Susan and Brent here speaking for. I think that, if you look at that, it's 50-50, and I have no idea what's going to happen. I just hope that people exercise their right and vote whether for or against it, and I want to give them the power to express their voice, and I think that putting it on the ballot is what I think gives them that opportunity.
Anyone else like to say something?
Here's moving slowly to the microphone, but he's trying to not hurt himself.
Moving slowly, we'll get there. This is a great process. for almost 10 years, I taught 5th grade, which is U.S. history, U.S. government, as part of the core and the curriculum that we teach. And talking to 10, 11-year-old kids about this process, you couldn't ask for a better example than something like this. As I've talked with different citizens and certainly monitored the Facebook traffic, which has been more than abundant, despite what some may say, this is our branch of government, or our system of government is really to be able to look at issues, to be able to represent differing viewpoints, regardless how, and this I feel very strongly about, and I'd actually like to get this out first. Regardless if this does go to the ballot or not, and that vote will take place here shortly, regardless how, if it does go to the ballot, if it passes or doesn't pass, I would like to give the citizens of Spanish Fork City a charge. That charge is that whatever decisions you make within your household, that it is either to support or to be against the proposed bond. It is not for or against any particular person or group. There should not be an us versus them. You can see that in a lot of the social media traffic already, as there are Facebook pages dedicated to doing away with this bond. There are Facebook pages for the information. And so the charge I give that this isn't a divisive. If you want to focus on the issue, that's what's most important. Too many people are throwing barbs, statements of communism and socialism. Our Constitution allows for something like this to take place. And so statements of against the law and tyranny, the Constitution does allow for what's taking place. And I think far too often we let emotion get into our arguments. A true argument doesn't have emotion, it's based on fact. And so the charge I give is that whatever decisions are made, both tonight on this dais as well as within your homes, that it is all focused on the bond and the bond issue, not a person or a set of people. A lot of the discussion has been wants versus needs. In the 3 different buildings that are being proposed for the 3-in-1, you can make arguments as to whether they are all wants or they are all needs, or part of it is want and part of it is a need. The interesting thing is there are wants and needs in our community every day, and there is not as much discussion and discourse over many of those wants and needs. But yet this one seems to, and certainly the price tag and the economic value is part of that. What's sad is that other things that don't have as big of a price tag aren't debated as fiercely. Perhaps that's why people are not as involved as they probably ought to be and should be in this process. I think that risk, economic risk, return on investment is probably the greatest thing weighing on people's minds, given the recent recession that we're coming through and the uncertainty of what lays ahead. And I think that economic risk is always something that we look at, something that needs to be looked at and understood. Lastly, as a city councilman, I've been given a charge of trust, a position of trust by the citizens of Spanish Fork. This is not who I am, quite frankly. This is a position I have to serve my community for a period of time, something that I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have done. Comments have been made of, we'll see who gets reelected and we'll see this and that. Again, very pointed in a personal nature. As for myself, I'm grateful to be able to serve my community for the time I'm given. If voters at some future day decide that my time has been well spent and I need not serve any longer, I am perfectly fine with that, because that's the system of government that I teach my school kids about. Irrespective, I fall back on the original charge that I gave. Comments that need to be directed and made from this point forward any support against, any campaigns, slogans, things like that, please make sure to all the citizens that it is focused on the issue at hand and not a person. That's all I have.
Anybody else? Rod or Mike? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well said, Kier. I agree with a lot of what was said there. I think that's where I fall on this issue as well, with Brandon and Kier, that my hope is that the discussion going forward here is, here's the facts, here's where you can find the facts, and now let's discuss the facts. And your neighbor, based on those facts, might have a different view than you do, and that's okay. That's the great republic that we live in, is we can all have different opinions. I found it pretty inspiring that we have a veteran on the council and a couple veterans that stand up, and Brent I've known for a long time to passionately say that, you know, he's fought to preserve the freedoms we enjoy, and one of those freedoms is to vote. So don't take it lightly. That's my charge, I guess, to piggyback on Kier's statement, is don't take it lightly. If you're not registered to vote, get registered to vote. And if you're not informed about issues, get informed about issues. This issue, like Brandon stated, is a large issue. And granted, we have large issues every year. I've only been at this for a couple of years now, but looking at our own current recreation budget now, we subsidize things. We subsidize things to the tune of a lot of money. I got some figures the other day of our recreation only. We subsidize $583,000 now. Our swimming pool, $153,000. Our senior center, $180,000. Our library, $577,000. I wouldn't do away with one of those things. Those are such a quality of life amenity for our city and our citizens that love and enjoy them. And I can tell you honestly that this proposal is only an extension of that. It's only an extension of good intentions in trying to provide amenities for the citizens of Spanish Fork. Anybody that would tell you otherwise, of some sort of personal gain, that somebody has some sort of personal gain in this, or anything else, is simply misinformation. So look at the facts, get the facts. I think we've all volunteered Seth time and time over again, and I'm going to publicly volunteer him again. But you can call Seth, you can email Seth, you can come sit down with Seth. Dale is a great resource too. I can tell you from my short time on the council, I've been lucky enough to be to a couple of conferences that involve recreation in our recreation department. They are coveted and lauded throughout the state. And that's not me trying to pump up anybody's ego. That's just the truth. When you go to these conferences, they want to take aside Dale, they want to take aside Karen, and they want to talk to them, and they want to say, hey, what are you doing in your city? We need to try to figure this out. How are you doing it in Spanish Fork? So I definitely respect their professional opinion. They're professionals in this field. They've been doing it for decades and decades. And so go to them for questions. And I can tell you that's a great resource. Again, I think it's been said, but my position as a councilman is I'm not prepared to deny the hundreds of people that just in the short time I've been in this position that have asked me about this and requested it to be put on a ballot to be voted on. And again, one way or the other, that this vote would go in November. the sun will come up the next day. But I stand with Brandon in a way that I'm not prepared to deny people, a very large contingent of people, the ability to not make their voices heard at the ballot box. And so I'd be in favor of putting this on the ballot at this time, Mayor.
I'm a man of few words, so I'll keep this brief, but Mr. Culp spoke of tyranny, and if my memory of history is correct, the colonists, the American colonists, were neither represented nor did they have a vote on the taxes that the Parliament were putting on them. Citizens of Spanish Fork are represented, and they are going to have a vote. Mr. Kerr spoke of being a republic. That's true. A republic is representative government. A true democracy is when people have a vote. And this is a democracy in action right here. Everyone's going to have a vote. We spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of work. Brandon spoke of the hundreds of hours that has been put into this, and we spent a lot of money researching this and getting the facts and doing the homework. So I think I'm going to be in favor of putting this on the ballot also, and let people's voices be heard and let the chips fall where they may.
So I guess it's my turn, huh?
Your turn.
For 8 years, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. I want to tell you that right now. Because 50%, as we got emails and texts and talked to people, 50% wanted it, 50% don't want it. So probably putting it on the vote is probably the best thing to do. I want the library like you would not believe. I think our senior citizens really need an upgrade. So I decided to do some homework myself and start walking around neighborhoods, and so I did. Me and my wife, and just me and my kids, and I knocked on doors just like I was campaigning and asked people what they wanted. And I really found out that a lot of people aren't really educated on really what's happening in this, and I don't want to put it on a debate on this issue, but I know a lot of people said at first that they would really like to have this, but they were thinking that they were going to be able to go into this rec center and be able to walk right in and not pay any dues or fees or anything else because they were citizens. I can't tell you how many, 75 to 80% of the people I talked to thought that, just because if they passed this bond or got it on a bond and it passed, that they would be able just to use this rec center any way they wanted to. I was on the steering committee for a long time, and I decided to pull myself off because I could see where it was going and how much it was really going to cost. And I think the cost is a lot. And a lot of the citizens in Spanish Fork can't afford this issue. Senior citizens and young people are just starting now. We're talking about tyranny and putting it on a vote and letting the citizens do it. I sort of feel a little different. I feel that I was voted in and the citizens want me to represent them and have me fight for them. And as I talked to the people that I talked to, over 70% didn't want it because it would raise their property tax where they couldn't eat and they couldn't have some other luxuries in life that they wanted. I know that Spanish Fork was voted just the other day, the 24th in the nation for highest anyway, for the high, and but there's a lot of people in Spanish Fork that can't afford this, and they're really afraid that if this passes, that it's really going to put a bind on them, that they're going to have to sell their homes or they're going to have to do something different. And so here we are. Am I a socialist or a communist because I'm going to vote against this? No, I hope people don't think that. But I've got a lot of people from Spanish Fork that are asking me not to vote for this, even to put it on a ballot. And so that's how I'm going to do it. If it does go on a ballot, then I hope we educate the people on how they really want. I believe in what Susan said that was here, that we need education on fitness. You know, 8 years ago when I was running for city council, I had an issue with golf course. I believe in qualities of life, and a golf course is a quality of life. And I believe curb and gutter is qualities of life. And I believe that, I mean, if you really want to start listening to me, I believe that crime rates are lower when we have better qualities of life and have where kids and people can go and have places to go. I believe in a good educational system with our library and things like that, but Pam is really under the gun right now. You walk over to Springville and see how wonderful that library is, and she needs something like that. But I just think $40 million is too much, and maybe we need to look at this at a different angle. I know that right now bonds are low, interest is low, materials are low. This would be the good time to build it. It really would. I understand all that. But there's a lot of people in Spanish Fork that if this passes are going to really suffer a lot. They voted me into this position asking me to protect them. And 8 years ago I said I would never raise the interest, our property taxes here in Spanish Fork as long as I was in here. Now we're asking to do that, even if we put it to the vote. Anyway, this is a big deal, and maybe you're right that the citizens should vote for this, but I've got some people that are asking me to go the other way, so that's how I'm gonna go.
Great, thank you. First of all, I want to tell everybody how much I appreciate every one of these guys that sit up here. These guys love Spanish Fork. These guys fight for Spanish Fork, and they fight for you. Do we always agree with each other? No. You know, a lot of times they say you guys are just a rubber stamp. But these guys go through, they study the issues, they do their homework, not only on this bond issue, but on every issue. You know, it's amazing to me, and I've been here going on 10 years, 2 terms as a city council, now as mayor. And I'll tell you what, the group we have right now are probably one of the best groups that we've had as a city council. And I love those other guys. They all did a great job. But as far as people here doing their homework, studying out the issues, and making tough decisions, that's what you voted us in here to do, make tough decisions. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Because we represent the whole city. We're here representing everyone, not only the ones that are for this, we represent those who are against this. And it's tough. It's tough when you have to make that decision. Now tonight, normally we're up here making decisions because you vote us to do that, and we represent you, and then we vote which way we feel is best. This bond issue changes that. I'm not here voting how you want to vote. I'm giving you that opportunity to vote. Everyone has an opportunity to go to the polls and vote how they want, either if you're for it or you're against it. You know, it's not left up to the 5 up here to vote. It's the whole city, everyone that gets there. So if you're adamant against it, get out and get your people there and do it right. I'm a little disappointed on some of the stuff that's been going on. One incident here where we had a property owner came to the city, asked us to sell their property. Before this was even on the ballot, they sent me an email and asked if we'd be interested. Well, she's had 2 different times people knock on her door and say the city doesn't want your house anymore. Now to me, that's not right. Do it fair. We're here to do it right and to let it go on its merits. I've talked to a lot of people that are against it. I've talked to a lot of people that are for it. Over the years, probably one of the biggest issues someone's asked me is, when are we going to have a rec center? I had a state legislator come into my office and I said, hey, it costs a lot of money. They said, and that person said, the citizens have a right to vote for it, one way or another. And I agree. And that's why we started the motion, to get it going here and let you guys decide. Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And, but if we built each of these separately, it would cost us a lot more. And it would happen over time. But this way, we can save costs, bunch it together. But here again, it's not what I feel, it's what you guys want. This is your chance to stand up and say, yeah, this is what I want, or no, this is what I don't want. And I reiterate everything here with everybody. Tonight, we're not here to vote your property taxes up. We're here to give you that opportunity to vote. You get to exercise your right as citizens of Spanish Fork. And so my feeling is, over the next couple of months, everyone get educated the best you can. Find out all the information. We've got the city website, talk to your neighbors, make sure you're getting the right facts. Let's not go on emotions. I've sat here when someone's come in and the guy stated all the facts and the person said, well, I don't believe you. And I said, well, what facts do you show? Well, I just don't believe the facts. That's not how we work here, you know. Figure it out, study out the issues, go do your own research, find out, and then make an educated vote. And that's what all I'm asking everyone to do. We've got plenty of resources here. Get the facts, don't spread the rumors. And to me, I think it'll be a great asset to our city. We've always let out in this city as far as what we provide for our citizens. And I think this would be something that for years and years and years to come would be a good thing for our city. And that's my personal feeling. So I would say, let the process work. We'll put it in your hands. You decide. And then don't let it divide the city. Let's get out there and support one way or the other, whichever way it goes. And get registered if you're not registered, and vote. Get out to vote. It always bothers me when we have elections and we have such a small turnout. You realize when you vote these people up here, you're voting them to handle millions and millions of dollars. And you know, it's important. It's important that you get the person up here that you want, that look out for you. And this city's been run very well, and we're in great financial state, and I'm so grateful for a great staff that's done that, and they'll continue to run that way, because that's how we do things here in Spanish Fork. And I just thank everybody on this. Okay, now the fun begins.
On that note, I would make a motion that we approve Resolution 15-15, consideration for adoption of resolution providing for a special bond election to be held on November 3rd, 2015, for the purpose of submitting to the qualified electors of Spanish Fork City, Utah, a proposition regarding the issuance of not to exceed $39,250,000 general obligation bonds to finance the costs of constructing and furnishing a life center, which includes a recreation/aquatic center, senior center, and library, and all related improvements, providing for the publication of a notice of a public hearing, approving the form of and directing the publication of a notice of election and the ballot proposition, and related matters. I read that.
You did, and I knew you were, so that's why I didn't read it. Got a motion by Councilman Dart.
Second.
second by Councilman Mendenhall. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman, who are you? Dart.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Nay.
That passes by majority. Thank you. Thank you for that vote. Let's get out and get educated on this now. And so let's move on. Okay, next item. Oh, it's you again, Rod.
I move we go into closed session for reasonably imminent litigation and land transaction.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Dart, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for all being here.